Welcome to Mining for Alpha Clones. So in this video we're going to be learning how to do some basic mining in a Venture Mining Frigate. The reason we're using the Venture is because it's overall a very good mining ship, especially for newer players. It's got a 5000 M3 ore hold, which is pretty good, especially for a frigate, and it can mine a pretty good amount of ore and make a decent amount of ISK per hour. And that's how most things in EVE are going to be ranked in their value as how good they are, is how much ISK can you make every hour doing this thing. So right now we're at EVE Market Data, and if you watched my other videos you know that I use this website quite a bit. It's a very good website and they have a lot of very useful tools here. For us, we're going to go to Mining and PI. Then you can see all the different types of stuff here. We're just interested in the ore and minerals. And you can see that this is all the different types of ore in EVE Online. Now, it's not really quite. We're going to look at some more in just a second. But what it does show you is the base types, the Veldspar through the Mercoxit. Now, basically, the higher up the list, the more common it is. The lower down the list, the more rare it is. Basically, not 100%, but Veldspar can be found in just about every type of system, from 1.0 security status all the way down to 0.0, whereas something like Kernite's typically going to be in 0.5s, but there's an exception to all of this, that there are mining anomalies, where in the mining anomalies you can typically find a higher value ore that's going to be even better, so look out for those. So we want to use this list to figure out which one of these ores we want to mine. So to do that, we go over here and we look at the ISK per hour for raw ore. So this bottom one right here, not the top one. We're not going to be refining our ore as an alpha clone because we don't have the perfect refining skills that are needed to get this higher number. Now, I'm not sure how high you can go as an alpha clone, and if you were to do the refining yourself, could you get better than the raw ore? I'm not sure. Maybe it's worth checking out, but probably not, because as an alpha clone you're limited pretty strongly in the amount of skills you can train in that area. So what I would do is just go with the ore. Let's look at the best ISK per hour on ore, and you can see obviously the best is going to be down here, but we're not going to be able to get to any of this stuff most likely. So most likely what we're going to be looking at is up in here, and 8 million seems to be the best, the Plagioclase. Now I'm going to go up here, I'm going to click asteroid flavors just for a second. This isn't so important, but to give you an idea of what there actually is. So we're not interested in compressed. Compressed, that's when you get a little bit further along in the game. You'll work with compressed ores. But for right now we're looking for Plagioclase. I don't see it. Maybe I'm just missing it. There it is. Okay. Alright, so every ore has 3 different variants. There's the base ore, which Plagioclase by itself is the base. There's a 5% bonus ore that's got 5% better refine yields. So that's going to sell for more typically. It should. And then there's the plus 10%, which is the best. So if you ever find yourself mining and you see rich Plagioclase, you're going to want to mine that first. Then go for the Azure, then for the regular, if you're focused in on Plagioclase. Okay, and then the next thing we want to do is we want to find out where is the best place to sell our Plagioclase. So what I did there is I just clicked the link here for that was for Proxers, for Plagioclase, and then I want to find in this list somewhere where they have a high buyer buy price. So you can see that there's Cheetah buys for 66. Now we're not going to be able to really haul our ore unless we can stockpile a really massive amount and then use a service like Red Frog or PushX. Those services allow you to carry, I believe it's up to 650,000 M3. So if you could wait until you had 650,000 M3, it's going to take a while. Then you could then pay, probably depending on how far away you are from wherever you want to haul it to, which is typically going to be Cheetah, but yeah, right here is the better one, 67.1. Then you could go ahead and pay, it's like 8 million, 10 million, 11 million, something like that, to have it all moved in one safe shipment so you can have collateral. And if you use PushX or Red Frog, you are certain that you will get your stuff to where it's going safely. And if it doesn't, which is extraordinarily rare that it doesn't actually get there safe, then you have collateral that will pay you back all the money you lost, and hopefully a little bit more, because I typically recommend you set your collateral at above the value of the goods you're having hauled. So for this, it looks like we want to sell to Cheetah. Now we can look, the buyers are in Cheetah. Let's look what the sellers are selling for. So the cheapest sellers out there, we can see there's some over here, but they're pretty far away. I'm going to try to see if I can pick Cheetah out of this list. Okay. Cheetah is 72 ISK is what they're selling for in Cheetah, and they're buying in Cheetah for 67.1, which is the best in the game. So what that tells me is that I also want to keep in mind something like this, because that's a 20 jump range, which means that I could be within 20 jumps of that system and sell to this guy. However, he's only asking for 6 million. The amount that they want to buy is very important. In the case of this, it wouldn't make sense for me to go to this Itamo system and mine to fill this, because this is going to be full very quickly, and it's just the same as Cheetah. So what I want to do is I want to go somewhere, ideally where they have good buy prices, ideally close to Cheetah. As a new player, being close to Cheetah is a very valuable thing, especially if you're a Caldari alpha clone. Being close to Cheetah is going to be in your best interest. So we can see here, these are some of the places that are going to give us good prices. Okay, so the next thing we want to look at is we want to look at the fit we're going to be using. So this is the basic fit for an alpha clone using a Venture. So this fit is actually going to take you a little while as an alpha clone to get into. You can see I've got my Amar alpha clone character flying it now. I could probably also put the Caldari in there. He's going to fly it just the same. The mining skills across all the races are pretty much the same, I think. So what you're going to have trouble fitting with this is you're going to have trouble early on fitting the damage control. That requires hull upgrades level 4. Don't worry about it. Just put a Tech 1 damage control on there with hull upgrades 1, I believe, and put that on there until you get hull upgrades 4. Now, the other thing is the salvager. That takes a couple days of training, I think. So that's not as crucial. That's just another way to make ISK while you're in the site. If you're mining in a site that has relatively weak NPC rats, then you're going to be able to salvage their wrecks and kill them with your 2 little hammer or hobgoblins right here. But your hobgoblins don't do much DPS, so don't count on those for defense anywhere except for very high level security status, high sec. I wouldn't count on them outside of, say, 0.9. I'm not sure. We'll find out in a minute when I go try this out. Keep in mind that I haven't mined in a very long time, so this is all mostly from memory and from recent research, because I'm having to go back and try to relearn some of this stuff so that I can help you. The biggest thing you're going to struggle with is these 2 shield extenders here. Now, the reason you have 2 shield extenders and a damage control is to increase your effective hit points. By the way, I'm using Eve fitting tool for this to show you this fitting. However, I would recommend that you use a program called Pyfa. Pyfa is the current best fitting tool, and I'm going to eventually get myself in the habit of using it. Right now, it's easier for me to use this because I've spent hundreds of hours playing with EFT that I just know it very well, and Pyfa is slightly different, but it does all the same things. So anyways, the reason you're going to have trouble with the shield extenders is because you're not going to have the fitting skills to fit them. You can see how tight this fit is. This is a maximum skilled alpha clone here. He's got all the skills to max that an alpha clone can have, this character, and he's able to fit it. But if you were to have certain skills that affected fitting, power grid output, that type of thing, you're going to struggle. So in that case, what you can do is you can fit 1 medium and 1 small here, and that's fine. Just have at least 1 medium and a damage control, and it's going to give you enough effective hit points over here so that if someone were to try to gank you, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. This ship right here you can see is worth 7 million ISK as it's fitted now. You may be able to save money if you do it like this. Yeah, with the azeotropics it's a little bit cheaper, but they take up a little bit more power grid. So keep that in mind as a new player. It may be harder to fit the azeotropics, but let's just show you. There's not a whole lot of difference between the two. The azeotropic has a smaller signature radius, but the amount of shield they give you is the same. The medium FS9 is considerably more expensive, but it saves you 2 power grid and 2 CPU, making it easier to fit. If you have the skills, fit it like this. If you need to drop anything off this fit, I suggest you drop the salvager. The survey scanner we use to scan asteroids. So there's no description. Okay. That's basically it. This is our fit. Our ore yield is 288 units per minute. So that's what we're going to be playing with in the next part of this video. Alright, so I'm in my Venture and I'm in a belt. The system I chose is Van Callen. The reason I chose that system is because it's in a 0.6 system, which means I have access to good Plagioclase, and that's what we're wanting to mine. Also because it's only 3 jumps away from Cheetah. So you can look here, and Cheetah's right over there, which is 1, 2, 3 jumps away. This system here, Itamo, is a hub that has 4 systems going off from it. 3 of them are dead ends, here, here, and here, that are all 0.6 systems. So basing out of Itamo, you're 2 jumps from Cheetah, so you can buy whatever you want very easily. You can carry stuff to market potentially, but be careful, don't get ganked. Do not fly a Tech 1 hauler full of ore. It's dangerous, and if you do, don't autopilot. So I'm going to show you how to sell your ore here to where you don't have to haul it, though. There's no reason to haul it. Let experienced haulers haul your ore. You just focus on the mining for right now. So that's why I chose this system. I'm in the belt. I've already killed 2 of the NPC rats. They were no problem. They barely hurt me. Just throw your drones out as soon as you get into the belt. And you don't even need to lock the rats as they come in or attack you. Just set your drones to aggressive and focus fire, and they'll take care of the NPCs for you. Now, I just started this video and then had to restart it. This is probably my 3rd time recording this, so hopefully I get it right this time. I keep having to cough and hack up a lung, but we're in the belt. It's belt 4-2. You always want to look around. You can see the little green notch on this circle here if they're here, but you want to look for these anomalies, and if they're in system, you would want to hold your mouse over them. Now that's not an anomaly, but when you held it over, it would do the same thing. It would tell you what it was, and then once you knew what it was, then perhaps there's an ore site in system, which would probably be more valuable than a belt. Now that we're in the belt, we've got our drones out, we're in our ship, we're ready to go. We're going to hit our survey scanner. You want to be within 22K of the asteroid, so make sure you move up closer to them within 22 so you can scan them. And what we can see is that we've got this one here, which has almost nothing in it. We don't want to mess with that one, but then we've got these 3 here that are good. I'm going to lock up the 2 that are closest to me, and I'm going to put 1 laser on each asteroid. That way I'm draining the asteroids a little bit slower, and so I'm less likely to have to change my lasers while I'm mining, because that's certainly going to be enough to fill me up. Now what we're wanting to test here is we're wanting to test how much ISK can I make in 15 minutes, and then we can extrapolate from that how much we can make per hour. So I started this at 30. Okay, so at 3:30 game time. I'm going to stop the video now and fill my hold, and then I'll restart the video. Just before we do that, it's going to take me 15 minutes, just over 15 minutes to do that, because you mine 315 M3 per minute with both lasers of this type of material, of this ore. So doing the math, that's roughly 15.5 minutes, which means basically 16 minutes to fill up. You've got a 50 M3 cargo hold here, but you could shift some into there, but it's not going to make a big difference. So you've got basically 15-16 minutes per load, and you could theoretically just get up right now, walk away, go to the dishes, go for a walk, play some Counter-Strike, whatever else you wanted to do, and then come back, and it'll still be mining so long as the asteroids haven't been depleted and so long as you don't get ganked. But we've already talked about that. Because you have a decent amount of hit points, it's less likely that you're going to be ganked, but it's not impossible. It still can happen and probably will happen depending on your luck. So one more thing to talk about that is that because you're in a 0.6 here, you're more likely to be ganked than if you were in a 0.8 or a 1.0. The lower security status you get, the higher the chance it is you get ganked. And the reason for that is because the lower the security status, the longer the response time, at least down to 0.5. Beyond 0.5 or below 0.5, the police don't ever come at all. But from 0.5 up, the police come, and it's just a matter of how long it takes. So in a 0.5, it's like 10, 11 seconds, I think. In a 0.6, it's maybe 8 seconds or something, and it goes from there. I think in a 1.0, Concord is there, the Space Police. They're there to destroy your attackers within a second or two or three very quickly. So the basic rule is the lower security status you're in, the higher the likelihood it is that you'll be ganked because the easier it is for people to gank. Whereas probably one catalyst, maybe two, could come gank me pretty easily in this belt if he really wanted to. Now, there's not much reason to gank me because my fittings aren't all that expensive. The shield extenders are a little bit expensive, but other than that, it's not the best profit for him to do it. But sometimes gankers gank just to gank, just because they want the tears, quote, that they want you to get upset and local and get mad at them, and just don't get mad at them. Don't say a word to them. Just ignore them. It's the best thing you can do to piss them off. If they gank you, just warp to the station, warp to Cheetah, go buy a new ship. This ship is going to cost you, depending on how you fit it, just around 5 to 7 million ISK at most. And you can get a new one from the new player experience. You're going to get a free ship. It's not the ship that's really all that expensive, but you'll get a free ship going through the new player experience when you first start the game. If you go down that path, I believe is how it works. So I'm going to let this finish, and then when I'm done, we're going to take this to the station. I'm going to tell you how you can sell this ore for just about full price, and how you can avoid having to worry about hauling it yourself. And we're also going to go ahead and calculate our ISK per hour. Alright, so we're coming up on 15 minutes, roughly 15 minutes. I started just after 3:30, and you can see we're just about full. I'm going to let this cycle here finish, and then we're going to go to the station, and I'm going to show you how to sell this. Now, the way we sell this is going to be based on, it's not going to be immediate, because if you're impatient in Eve, just about in every area, impatience equals making less money than if you were patient. So just like other areas, we're going to be patient, and we're going to try to get as much as we can for our work, so as much value for our time as possible. So I'm going to let these cycles here finish. That one is finished. That one is finished, and I'm going to go ahead and bring the drones in. And I'm going to warp to this station. You could also potentially go to the Citadel here. It's up to you. I'm going to go to the station. And so we didn't fill our hold all the way. Ideally, you would stay in the belt until you filled your hold. But let's just throw this over there. Alright, so that's close enough. That's basically 15 minutes of our time. We're going to go see how much that's worth. Now, this is going to be a rough estimate because there's the time to and from the station to drop it off, the time of getting back to the spot to mine. You can always set a bookmark there and warp directly to that spot. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to put this in here, and we're going to look at it on the market. So right click it and then view market details, and we can see that the highest buy order is in Perimeter and Cheetah for 71 or just over 71. That's how much people are willing to pay just a few jumps away from here. And then let's just cancel that. That's where I was doing the video before and I was trying to show it, so I'm just going to cancel it. Alright, so the Cheetah sell order, the lowest sell order in Cheetah is also 71.25. So that tells us that people are willing to pay 71 ISK per unit for this. So what I want to do is I want to get as close to that as possible. So for the inconvenience of them having to come 3 jumps away from Cheetah, which is not that bad, what I need to do is I need to wait until this builds up before I sell it. So wait until at least the end of the day, put in an hour or so before you sell it. But I would probably wait till I had 200,000 or more before I put up my sell order. That way you're more likely to get it filled with 200,000 units than you are with a low amount like this, because this just isn't enough to make it worth a hauler's time to come get. But if you had 200,000, 300,000 of these, which wouldn't take you very long to do, then you would be able to make it a lot more appealing for them to come and get. So what we're going to do is, once we have that many, we're going to list them for sale. We're going to do a sell order, not a buy order. So a buy order, we're going to do a sell order. We're not going to sell to a buy order. So we want to get as much as we can. So we're going to come right here, and I'm going to put, let's see, 70 ISK I think is fair, because they're doing 71. So that's going to be a little bit cheaper, worth their while to come 3 jumps. So I'll get 70 ISK per unit, which is 1.2 million after my taxes and fees, 1.2 million. Now, another thing you can note here is if I went over to that Citadel, the broker's fee or the taxes altogether are going to be lower, so I'd be closer to that number, and it probably would be in my interest to go over to that Citadel now that I think about it. But let's just say 1.2 million ISK per every 15 minutes. So I'm going to bring up my calculator. You can't see the calculator, but I can. So that's going to be, let's see, 1.2 times 4 is 4.8 million ISK per hour is what we're making right now. 4.8 million ISK per hour. A little bit, well, let's just say 4.8 million ISK. That's fair. You might be able to round that up to 5 million ISK, depending. You may even be able to raise your price by 0.5 there, but you see that doesn't make too big of a difference. So roughly 4.8 million ISK per hour mining in a Venture. As a relatively new character, you can get into this ship easily within a few days, I would say, and certainly within a week of being in the game, you're going to be able to get into this ship and start mining at this rate, making about 4.8 million ISK per hour, so long as you go after the right things and you sell it here. Do not do it this way, because see how much you're going to get here? 64. You're losing 100,000 ISK right there on every 15 minutes just because you're accepting this low amount. That's lazy and that's impatient. We don't want to do that. So just wait until you have at least 200,000, if not more the better, and set up your own sell order for something close to Cheetah, but roughly 1 ISK off. So that would be like right around there, and then sell it for that amount, and that's going to help you to get the most for your effort. And that's it for this video about mining in a Venture as an alpha clone. I hope it helps you. If you have any questions, then I encourage you to put them in the comment section. And I also encourage you to go check out, I will put a link, Eve University has an excellent mining section on their website. And so I'll put a link to their mining section in the description of this video for you, so you can go check that out too.